Good morning and welcome back to the Logic Exchange. I'm thrilled to welcome Mr. Paul Liebman, Vice President of Business Development at Torticity. Paul is a seasoned business leader with over 25 years of experience driving growth, strategic partnerships, and innovation in the legal services and technology space. Currently helping shape how firms leverage intelligent AI-driven platforms to scale smarter and deliver better outcomes in complex litigation. Before joining Torticity, Paul's career spanned leadership roles across sales, revenue strategy, and executive management, including CEO of X Social Capital, CRO for firms in marketing and legal services, and senior roles in investment and wealth management. His broad experience gives him a unique perspective on business development, client value creation, and the intersection of technology and the legal industry. Today, we'll dive into Paul's journey and unpack insights on strategic growth, industry evolution, and what growth looks like today in today's fast-changing business of law. So let's jump right in. I'm Nick Thompson. I'm your host, CRO for Email Agency. And Paul, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure, Nick. I was really looking forward to joining the Logic Exchange. So looking forward to today's podcast.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right in. I want to be very cognizant of your time. We'll talk about partner strategy, evaluation, and lead origin. So you've been around the block for a second. How do you go about vetting and choosing the folks that you work with, from marketing to intake to even law firms themselves?
It's a very good question. Fortunately, the industry has gone through, I think, a good change over the last couple of years, only because of, all the fraud and bad players in the space. However, we still have to be very, very careful of who we do business with, and we have to just, do our due diligence. And one of the ways that I sort of handle my due diligence working with other vendors and companies in the space is obviously I do as much, background checks as I possibly can on the internet, right? Just to see if anything pops up, bad people, etc. But I also ask clients, right? Clients that are already using some vendors. Hey, what do you think? How are they doing? How are they performing? And, it's interesting, and only up until recently, and I think it's a huge benefit, especially to the good marketers out there, Nick, like yourself.
Thank you.
People have been getting just more and more data driven, and people are now keeping track of who's doing what, who's doing a good job, lower fallout, better quality, for their analysis. So, do your own due diligence, ask clients, ask friends in the space. Listen, we all love to do business with friends, but that doesn't mean that we're necessarily doing business with the right people, right?
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's and also, there are some associations in our space, right? Like Master Vendor Association is out there, which I know that you're also, I believe, on the board of and
Yes,
heavily involved. I mean, the Vendors Association actually vets. They don't just let anyone in. They actually vet now the companies that are applying to join the association, okay? Which, used to be sort of, I don't want to say pay to play, but it was like, if you're willing to pay the dues, you're in.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not
Right.
wrong.
Listen, you know me. I tell the truth, man. Right.
Yeah.
So, at least now you guys are doing some due diligence and really vetting the companies out. So, reach out to one of your relationships that are members of, Master Vendor Association or some of the board members.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And so it's Mass Torts Vendor Association, National Legal Vendors Association. They're synonymous, right? And you're right. I sit on the board for that association, and I think everything that you just said is accurate. Before it was just kind of pay to play, right? And now you have to go through an entire vetting process, and I head up the compliance committee and work with folks like Brian Vogel and John Henson and others, and go through the compliance side of things, because if I put my name on it or you put your name on it, I want to stand behind it, right? And same thing with Jacob, and same thing with Kaysen, and same thing with Scott, right? Like, you're right. We want and like to work with our friends. but they also all have to be doing the right thing, right? And
Listen, Nick,
so I think that's part of it.
I'll say this to you. Being in this space for a while, being in the financial investment banking space for a while, the only thing that we have at the end of the day is our reputation.
Yep.
And if we refer somebody to somebody that's not a good player in the space, it's a direct, imprint on us, right? And
Yep.
reflection on us. So as far as even referring people, we have to be very, very careful,
Yep.
right, of who we refer. One other thing I'll just sort of just as a little bit of safeguard. When firms are going out and they're starting new campaigns and new relationships with people, instead of giving them $1 million, walk a little bit before you run, test
Yep.
them out, right? Maybe start with 50 or 100,000, right? To start the campaign and see what it looks like before you sort of, jump with both feet, right? So just,
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, man. I'm a big fan of crawl, walk, run, right? If you swing small, you miss small. And every campaign, I don't care how established it is or how long that vendor's been working on it or even the firm, right? There's always pitfalls and it can always be optimized. And so I'm a big fan of that strategy as well because you don't know what you don't know. And I know I'm throwing out a ton of cliches, but
yeah, but
they're
it's
all
true.
they're all cliches for a reason, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
so
true.
it's all about crawl, walk, run. And then once you find somebody and you walked with them for a little bit, go ahead and start running if it makes sense. But
Trust,
always
trust,
test, yeah,
trust.
always test and then
Yep,
trust. Yeah.
yep, yep.
So that's actually a great segue to what separates a basic vendor relationship from a true strategic partnership in this space.
Well, I'll say this to you. I believe that, listen, a true vendor is more transaction oriented, right? Where a
Mhm.
strategic partner actually cares a little bit more, and a strategic partner is willing to help you in even other areas that maybe that you are using that vendor for, right? Let's just separate it. Vendor, strategic partner,
Yep.
right? I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I sort of lean towards strategic partners only because strategic partners, A, care, they seem to share their network of
Yep.
their relationships, which is a very, very good starting foundation, especially if you're looking to maybe get into the space for the first time. Listen, we've been around. We have very, very strong relationships with some of the top litigating firms in the country.
Yep.
Um, People that are first looking to get into our space don't have those intros and relationships to talk to the top litigating firms, right? And to also educate people, right? Um, Strategic partners will share, like I said, their Rolodex, they will share their data, they will just give you total transparency in the space that you're in. Whereas a vendor, like I mentioned, is sort of more transactional based. All they care about is their little peg, if you will, instead of, the entire ecosystem.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more on that, man. I think that at the end of the day, you want to find somebody that's going to take the journey with you, right? And it's I love the wording that you used. A lot of vendors do view all of this as transactional, and a true strategic partner is going to take the journey with you, right? They're going to be there hand in hand. They're going to be down in the trenches, and let's cut to the chase on it. Like, not every campaign is going to be a winner. Not every lead's going to be a winner, right? You want to work with somebody that's going to stand behind their product and take the journey with you. So
Exactly. And
I loved your answer on that.
what's interesting is that people that I'm just give you an example of myself, right? People that are my clients and people that I deal with every day, they don't just get Paul at Torticity, right? I can help them with intros to marketing, right? I
Mhm.
can help them with intros to all the vendors along their entire journey. I can help them with introductions to the litigating firms, right? It's the more sort of, I don't want to say plug and play because what I do is what I do, and what you do is what you do, right?
Yep.
But when you do have access to the right network, if you will, it makes life a lot easier, and you're not always looking over your shoulder. And at the end of the day, you sort of what you have, right?
Absolutely.
So just
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what
I
I think.
remember I remember distinctly being a new player in this space a long time ago. And going to my first Mass Torts Made Perfect and looking around and being like, wow, okay, I know him. I've seen him. I've seen him, and then there were folks like you and folks like Jacob and folks like Scott Blackburn that kind of took me under their wing and introduced me, right? And you've got to do that. You have to help that next generation. And so this last Math Source Made Perfect made me it cracked me up. I was actually staying on. We always get a cabana, and I was staying on one of the wrong side of the elevator bank from the one that lets you out at the Wynn to go to, or maybe no, it was the Bellagio. I get them confused, like my
Uh-huh.
26th one, something like that. Anyway, and I ended up having to walk through the Math Source Made Perfect vendor floor, and people were trying to sell me, and I was like, "Oh, you must be new here." Right. Like it was one of those things that was funny. But then I got to thinking when I got there, I was like, you know what? I should really just go introduce myself to one of those guys and just get to know them, right? Because folks like yourself, folks like Jacob, again, Scott, that's what they did with me when I first got into this. And Kaysen, right? Kaysen Carter. And so it's been a fun journey, and I think that it's one that we can give back, right? And take maybe one of these guys that we know is doing a good job under our wings, and go
Yeah,
introduce them to a Michael Watts, go introduce them
yeah,
to a Brian Ailstock or Mike Papantonio, right? Like and
sure.
be like, hey,
Yep,
look, this is who it is, right?
yep,
And
help
so
them.
having that handout to pull the next generation up, I think is a good thing.
Yep, I agree with you on that one. I totally agree. Mentorship
Uh,
is good, is a good thing.
Absolutely. And you know what? And I think that mentorship leads to leadership, right? Like leading by example and being like, look, this is the classy way to do this. You hit it on the head. I like working with my friends. The vast majority of these folks in this space are technically my competitors, but they're really my buddies,
Right,
right?
they're good
And
people. Yeah, a lot of
I
good
think
people.
I think we're all stronger working together, right? Like all ships rise, right? So
100%. And you know what? Listen, what you get out of me is honesty and transparency, and there's no pulling back the curtain, if you will. Everything
yeah,
is already in the open. It is,
yeah.
and it just makes life a lot easier just to be, just honest with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yep,
So,
completely agree with you, man. Surprises in this space are not fun. Surprises
no,
at a birthday party, good time, right?
right,
Surprises in a
right.
sporting event,
Yeah,
good time.
yeah,
Surprises in this, no, right? And I agree with you, right? It's so much easier when you're having a conversation if you're just telling the truth, because then you don't have to remember what you said, right? It's just
exactly.
it's
It's
just
easy.
true.
It's
Yep.
easy.
So, all right.
Cool.
Last
Awesome.
question on this side for partner
Yeah.
strategy. What information, in your opinion, should a firm always ask a potential marketing vendor before they buy claimant packets from them?
Very good question. So, listen, advertising sometimes, if you're not advertising with the right people, can be a minefield. And
Hmm.
things have to be, TCPA compliant.
Yeah.
I would look through what their contract looks like first. I would make sure that there's some type of exchange policy if they offer that, right? I would make sure that, again, they're totally. I'm a believer of having them be the originator of those leads,
Hmm.
and I would make sure that I would look at what the advertising looks like,
Yep.
just to make sure that you're compliant as well. Um, I would I, I would look at any type of data that firm can provide, that advertising agency can provide. Just that's what I would look at. I mean, you
Yep.
just want to be TCPA compliant. You want to make sure you're compliant with your state bar as well.
Yep.
And just make sure that everything is above board, and let them be very clear on also how they market for those
Yep.
leads as
Oh,
well.
Completely
right?
agree with you, man. I love I love the fact that we're chatting about how to generate leads at this point, right? Because there is are we 100% in house, or are you using trusted partners? Here at Email Agency, we're a bit of both, right? Because of the scale that we do, it is impossible for us to generate them all 100% in house. Luckily, we have 10 to 15-year relationships with some very, very, very trusted partners that work almost exclusively, if not exclusively, with us to feed the machine. You know, when you're doing 100 to 150 Roblox retainers a day, can't be done 100% in house. And anybody that tells you that that's what they're doing, I'd love to see the receipts on that, because
So Nick,
I'm not sure it's
I,
possible.
I heard from a couple of people you guys are actually doing well in Roblox. Could you give me an idea what the campaign sort of looks like?
Absolutely, man. And it's nice to hear, right? I subscribe to the Dale Earnhardt. I don't care if they're booing or cheering as long as they're making noise. And in this instance, yeah, I think we're doing really, really strong in Roblox. Like I said, we're doing 100 to 150 a day right now. We have everything going through smart reviews. So Kate and Scott and Lauren over there get their hands on it, and you know, we have a 78% viability rate with them, which is, if not the highest, pretty damn near the highest in the space, especially at that volume. You know, we concentrate on kind of the top four injuries, or tiers of injuries, if you will. And our numbers right now for tier one, somewhere between 25 and 30% being tier
Wow.
one, which is shocking. And we can talk a little bit more about what that is down the road, or maybe later today. But you know, tier two, we're at 35%. Tier three, we're at 35%. And tier four, which is the grooming, we're only at 5. And I think that's a good thing. All of our firms have been super pleased with what we're doing. And anybody out there, shameless plug, that's interested in Roblox, give me a call. I'd love to talk with you.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's so unfortunate, all of the
Yes.
abuse, just online and offline, right? There's just so much abuse. It's just it's horrible. So
I was shocked, and if you'll indulge me for a minute or two, I was
of course.
shocked when Roblox first came across my desk, because people were talking about in-person physical abuse of
Yeah.
minors, and number one, disgusting, deplorable. I mean, any adjective you want to throw on there. But number two, they were looking for roughly 10% of the overall volume being that physical abuse, and I was like, there's just no way, right? This is a digital platform, and unfortunately, Brian beat this out. We live in a country full of, and it's unfortunate that this digital platform was a playground for those people. And so
Predators. Yeah. Just
anybody that's out there, if you have a kid that's playing Roblox, look at it, check it, jump in there. First thing I did when this came across my desk, what, 6, 7, 8 months ago, whenever it was, my 11-year-old plays Roblox. And I was like, Mason, give me your laptop. And I went through it, and luckily there was nothing in there. But unfortunately, not everybody is as lucky, right? So yeah, it's a very, very righteous case, and one that I think that we do a pretty damn good job on.
good. Good. Well,
So
thank you for help fighting the fight as well.
absolutely, you know what, and that's one thing that I absolutely love about this space is that, no, I'm not an attorney. Kind of wish I would have gone to law school. I think it would have been a lot of fun to do this, but in some small way, you and I are helping the people that are reaching out asking for help. They were hurt by either somebody or a defective device or a defective drug, and oftentimes they feel like they don't have a voice. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Michael Watts and Andrews, the folks at AWKO, they have a voice. They have a pretty damn big voice,
Sure.
and
Sure.
they're going to battle for these folks, and I'm all for it. So,
So am I. So am I.
yeah,
And I
awesome.
got to tell you, if it wasn't for companies, like yours in that digital, marketing space, millions upon millions of people, plaintiffs would have never seen an ad and been able to call, one of the firms that you represent. So
Yeah,
it's,
they probably would still be sitting there thinking, why me?
Yeah,
right?
right.
And
And
I just love that there are people out there that are willing to take up that battle for them, and so it's a worthwhile cause, and one that I can and always will get behind.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah.
Good, good.
So that's actually kind of another great segue. So lessons learned and ethical sourcing. For you, Paul, 25 years doing this, what are the biggest do's and don'ts you've learned about
Oof.
marketing and legal marketing along the way?
Um, that's sort of a black hole, but what I will say to you is from as the law firm should look at it, things and also us being in the industry, right?
Hmm.
Just overall, as I mentioned earlier, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, during Camp Lejeune, there was, you want to talk about fraud.
Yep.
There was a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous amount of fraud in this space. And over the last few years, is it perfect? No. Has it cleaned up a tremendous amount? Yes. And I think every day, especially in the last 12 months again, just because of all the data that's out there now, and there are companies like mine that are collecting that data, right? And we're seeing, what marketing firms are doing well and where there's fraud and where there's not fraud that right at the front end, right? So I think the industry has gotten a lot better. It's been getting a lot more efficient. There's a lot of technology now, advancements in the space. I think overall, it's a win-win-win for everybody. Some of the pitfalls go back again to some of the bad players and
Hmm.
not doing your due diligence on who you're handing your money to and who you're
Yeah.
trusting. Okay, your trusted legal partner, if you will, right? So again, I would ask a lot of questions. I would ask friends in the space. I would find the honest people to speak to, right?
Yep.
When you're walking, and when you mentioned earlier, when you're walking in the exhibit hall and there's 200 people trying to reach at you every step that you
Yep.
take, maybe maybe slightly hesitant, and talk to whoever you want to talk to, but spend time with them, right? Just spend some
Yep.
time with them. Don't just take the elevator pitch. Spend some time, get to know them a little bit, sit down on the side, and really get to know who your strategic partners are in the space.
Absolutely. And you know what, if you see me, if you see you, if you see any of the folks at the with the NLVA badge, or just go talk to them. Ask them, hey, you know what? Thank you for chatting with me. Would you mind introducing me to this person? Or, I've always wanted to talk with this person. Would you mind introducing me? And 9 times out of 10, somebody's gonna be like, absolutely, let's go. And let's go talk. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants any kind of tort reform. Nobody in this space. And if we can weed out the bad actors, or if we can help somebody not make a mistake that may have already been made by,
Mhm.
it's just about passing that knowledge and helping that next generation to keep this thing rolling down the road. Um,
And just one other thing I just want to just mention on the whole sort of, fraud level, if you will. The marketers that are advertising on your behalf, um, those marketers have a direct impact on your bar card because if
yes, they
they're
do.
doing something that is not ethical or legal and it comes back to you, it's your bar card. That
Yep.
marketer is already gone and probably opened under another name by now. Okay? So what the attorneys have to realize is really what's at stake here. It's not just, hey, maybe I, lost some money on a spend. It's the attorney's livelihood at the end of the day. So again, just be very, very careful. I'm just going to give you a really quick 2 second story, only because you
Abs-
mentioned the Watts, right?
Yep.
So about, I guess it was now 2.5 years ago, opening morning at MTMP. Michael did a
Hmm.
whole thing on fraud and
Yep.
PS. I think we were both involved in that, right?
Yes, we were. We were
Right.
both in that meeting. Yep.
And one of the pieces that in Michael's presentation, I was up there and I get a phone call. I'm like the worst person in the world to get called on a Friday to see if I ever used, Roundup. And then if I wanted to, file a claim for Camp Lejeune, even though I didn't know what Camp Lejeune was, right?
Yep.
That whole thing. So, there are still bad people out there, right?
Yep.
And just speak to people, honest people in the space, people that you know, just get the right people because it's bad for everyone when someone gets hurt, right?
Completely agree.
Right? It's bad
Yeah.
for the industry, it's just bad for everybody from start to finish. So again, just try to stay in, amongst the good people. That's all. I'll stay with
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely, and ask questions, right? Be curious. I think it's incredibly important. I remember we talked about it a little bit, but when I first got into this space, I was like, I've already conquered insurance. Legal is going to be easy, and couldn't have been further from the truth, and I couldn't have been more wrong, right? But I kind of went in with this after being humbled with this: be curious, ask questions, learn, listen. Maybe don't speak as much, which is hard for me because I really don't possess the ability to shut up. But it's learn from those that made the trails, right? And then take that trail and make it a little bit wider.
Yeah,
I
good
completely agree with
analogy.
you. Yep,
Yep, yep.
yep. So let's jump into kind of defining success and real performance metrics in the space, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. How many people did you get to talk to? How many people were you able to help? And how do you know if a campaign is truly working? And so that's kind of where we're at. So Paul, when you're looking at a campaign and it's coming through Torticity, how do you know if it's truly performing well?
So we run, listen, we are we're a tech company, right?
Mhm.
Basically. What Torticity does for anyone that doesn't know what we do, I'm just going to give a 2-second plug because this
Please
may
do.
answer a lot of
Please
questions.
do.
We handle mass tort cases, we
Mhm.
handle MVA, we handle sex abuse cases. Th those are pretty much our three main verticals right now. Post retainer. We
Mhm.
handle the complete workup on all those three verticals, if you will, for mass tort all the way through, including plaintiff fact sheet, for MVA, all the way through for pre-lit cases, including settlement on behalf of the firm, and for sex assault and sex abuse vertical. We handle it all the way through for the attorney ready to file. And that's what Torticity does in scale. So we are extremely data driven, right? So we help law firms when they first give us the signed retainers within the first 24 hours, we reach out to that plaintiff just to start our intake process, which
Mhm.
is a much more in-depth intake process normally than you get from a call center or even a law firm themselves. So that enables us to know if it's a real compensable case pretty much or not. And at that point in time, we can actually hand that case back if it's not for them, if there's an exchange policy or whatever it may be, and how the law firm wants to handle it. And then from there, we start to, go into sort of phase two, pull medical records, whatever else we need to pull to make sure it's a compensable case. We do, medical record retrieval, medical record review, just we do the full gamut, right? And so all along, we have hundreds and hundreds of different data points that we follow,
Mhm.
just so we know what's what. So we keep track of. We also keep track of vendors. We keep track of obviously performance of the law firms themselves, because at the end of the day, because of our deferred model, we're really partners with the law firm,
Yes. Yep.
right? So we want to make sure that the fraud is caught at the very, very beginning as well,
Yep.
only because we don't get paid unless it's a compensable case and the case gets paid upon,
You don't
right?
want your time wasted.
Right,
Yep.
exactly,
Totally get
right.
it.
So,
Yeah.
and bandwidth, and we have, a fairly substantial, docket and fairly, large employee headcount. But anyway, so that's what Torticity does. So performance is so important, and today not only because of technology, but I think just because of the growing pains over the past several years in the space. Everybody needs to know what their docket really is, right? It used to
Hmm.
be is, all right, I'll go spend, I'm just using numbers. I'll go spend $1 million and I'll have, 500 cases and, all the cases are great. And, now all of a sudden I have 500 cases and the 500 cases I spent $1 million for is now, I have legal fees of $20 million on those 500 cases. And, hey, I'm off to the races and I can actually go to, someone to lend me money right now to help me, right, continue to grow my firm and expand. I think everybody is just smarter,
Hmm.
just more in tune of what happened, what's going on. The performance aspect now of the docket and the firm is more important today than it used to be. People know now what their docket looks like. They
Yep.
care about the marketers they're using. They care about the quality. They care about the fallout because they know, taking in all those factors at the end of the day, those 500 cases that we bought are really, after 30% fallout, right? We just lost 150 cases, right? We now have, 350 cases, true cases, compensable cases now. That's really what they have. It's great to
Yep.
say I have 10,000 cases, right? I would, right, with 1,000 good ones than just saying I have, I bought 7,000 cases and I have 5,000 good ones, right? Which would you
Yep.
rather, right? So, I just think performance today is a lot more important. Firms have grown, some have taken on a tremendous amount of debt. Just they've increased their bandwidth, their overall expenses they've increased. So I think knowing exactly what you have today in your docket is just paramount.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you. I mean, you described the business of law, which I believe people had an eye on back when I first started doing this, but it was definitely much more the Wild West, right? And I think now people have gotten much more sophisticated. Firms have gotten much more diligent, and I believe that that's a good thing for all of us, right? And so, Paul, we'll do this again at the end. But if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
Um, Best way, either email, it's P Liebman, Liebman at Torticity, Torticity.com, or always available on my cell, area code 631-335-8575.
Perfect, perfect. We'll do that again at the end, but just want to make sure if somebody was like, all right, I got to talk to Paul, right? We can get him in touch with you. So thank you
And
so
you
much
can
for
always
that.
share my information, Nick, as well.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I'll do the
Appreciate you.
same.
I appreciate you, buddy.
All
Thank you,
right.
thank you. Yeah. Cool, cool. So when people are evaluating, when firms are looking at like an ROI and they want to look beyond just the cost per sign retainer, what are they looking for?
So that's a very good question. They're looking for either vendors that can help them and save them money
Hmm.
and, maybe not use as much bandwidth at the firm level,
Yep.
right? Right? To save them money. Um, they're looking to, listen, they're looking for the best back end deal that they can get from a top litigating firm. I
Yep.
mean, and again, here's a quick plug. One of the advantages of Torticity is we work with a lot of the top litigating firms.
Yep.
And in a lot of instances, if you send Torticity the cases and we do the workup for you, there's a better split on the back end with that top litigating firm, right? Because
Awesome.
the work is being done. So, and think about it, every 5% in back end is 10% or more in net ROI,
Yep.
right? So it's, every percentage point is meaningful, especially when you're dealing with the size of some of these firms' dockets that have 10, 20, 30, 40,000 compensable cases in their docket, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You got to have a quarterback, right, to
Yeah.
keep moving it down the field.
Yep.
One last question on this section, and then we'll jump into some innovation stuff. What's one underrated KPI more firms should track?
I think what firms should track and have a less emphasis on actual cost of a case,
Mhm.
for the sheer fact that, listen, I would rather have one good case that cost me $5,000
Mhm.
than have 1,000 cases that cost me $2,000. And right, I would just rather have quality, right?
Sure.
Quality is king.
Especially if those $2,000 cases, like you're going to lose 95% of them out the back
Yeah,
door, right? Yeah.
quality is king. And listen, having compensable cases at the end of the day is really what counts,
Yeah.
right?
I completely agree with you. It's
So
Do you want to pay it on the front end or do you want to pay it on the back end? Because it's getting paid, right? And so, yeah.
exactly. And again, volume is not always the best way to go, right? I again, people. I'll give you one example. When I was at X Social Media, right? There were we were, let's say, giving a range of $3,000 to $3,200 for Camp Lejeune back in the day,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
But there were firms that wanted to pay $2,200 a case, and there were
Mhm.
marketers that were selling it to them at $2,200, right? Being one of the largest digital social media players in the space at that time, my cost was higher than that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
My cost is so how is it possible, right?
And you and Jacob did great work. So how, if your cost is higher than what others are selling, how are they doing it?
Yeah,
How are they quote
exactly.
unquote better?
Right.
Right.
So either, the leads are being sold multiple times.
Yep.
You just, again, cost isn't, is it important to everyone?
Mhm.
Yes. But think about it. If it costs you a few $100s more for a better marketer and a better case, right? And lower fallout, and your legal fees are X, right? What's the $500 worth at the end of the day? It's not really worth much at all, right?
I completely agree with you.
So,
$500 to sleep well at night. That's worth paying.
exactly. So just, again, quality over quantity.
Yep, agreed. So jumping into innovation, automation, and evolution, kind of AI has been at the forefront of everything really over the last year, probably 2 years. Um, what marketing innovation or channel are you watching closely in 2026?
I'm watching all of them. There are AI platforms now that are handling intake right now,
Hmm.
right? There are
Yep.
AI platforms that are handling, the complete closing package, right? The man letters. It's basically doing almost everything. Outreach to clients. I mean, do I think there's a space for AI? 100%. I'm a
Hmm.
technology company, right? However, I will say this to you. In our space, in our space, for the most part, when a person picks up the phone to call a law firm, it's one of, if not the biggest call that they ever made in their life,
Absolutely.
where it's life changing to them. Okay?
Yep.
Just think about the type of people that we represent.
Yep.
Okay, this is not someone that just had a little fender bender with a soft tissue injury, that's looking for $5,000. These people were hurt. These people died. These people got cancer. These people had lost their eyesights. I can go on and on and on and on and on, right?
It's their
So
worst day.
it
It's their
is
worst day.
probably, like I said, yes, their worst day, and one of, if not the biggest phone call that they ever make is calling an
Yep.
attorney to represent them.
Yep.
So I believe that the one-on-one, actually having a human being speaking to that plaintiff, is still very, very, very important.
Mhm.
Okay. That's my feeling. I don't think that everything will ever be or could be replaced by AI. if they do, I think you're going to see a very, a big drop in quality
Yep.
again, but quality from the law firms, right? I just don't think that it's how can I say it? I don't think the entire journey can be AI driven. That's
Yep.
my
I agree with you. I think that
you know
there's
what I
a
mean?
place for it.
So using technology in this space, I mean, from CRMs to calling apps to just I think technology is a great thing and it's helping our industry a tremendous amount. I mean, come on, right? And it's making us better. It's making us faster. It's making more efficient.
Yep.
It's a win-win-win in every single perspective of our space. It's definitely we're still I think at the infant style stages right
Yep.
now because I can't get into what we're doing, but there's a lot of exciting stuff going on right now
Yep.
as we speak.
I agree with everything that you said. I think that there's a place for AI in all of this. Is it going to replace the gyms and the Jills? No, I don't think it's going to fully replace it, but it can help them, right? If you utilize it as a tool, but if you're looking to utilize it to fully replace, I don't think that we're there yet, number one. And number two, to your point, talking to somebody on their worst day, most important phone call that they ever made, they don't want to be talking to the Terminator,
I
right?
mean,
It's
listen, I'll take it one step further, right?
yes, sir.
All right, so one of our main verticals is sex abuse,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Could you imagine someone that was sexually abused doing intake strictly with AI
No.
and then moving, we spend anywhere between 90 minutes and 3 hours on just the initial intake
Yep.
for a sex abuse case,
Because
right?
they're reliving the worst thing that ever happened to them,
And
right? And
and
it's not a conveyor belt.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly right. It's just, yeah. I mean, so anyway, do I believe that technology is definitely moving in the right direction and helping? Yes, 100%. Do I think that it's going to take over, like you mentioned, every Jack and Jill? No. Do I think that AI, if you want to, talk about, let's say, different types of law that are more contractual based than what most of our clients do? 100%. I
Yep.
mean, I hear about it now, right? The bigger firms are reducing their summer internships, if you will, some of them by 60, 70%, where they used to take 20, now they're only taking five,
Yep.
right? Because they see that maybe they don't need all these, first year, second year, law firm graduates because of AI. A lot of this stuff can be done by AI, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
Absolutely. I agree with you, man. I think that there's a place for it. I don't think that it replaces the human element,
no,
particularly
and it's
on
not,
some of
and
the
it's
cases
not,
we talked about.
will it eventually think? Maybe, but it's not 100% accurate, right?
Yep. Yep. I
So,
agree. I
yep,
agree. And I want to be very cognizant of your time. So we have just a couple
perfect.
more segments.
Yep. Thank
So
you, my
this
friend.
is kind of jumping into the future of legal marketing and claimant acquisition. Um, what does the future of claimant acquisition look like to you? As we kind of roll into the well, we're not quite in the second half of 2026, but we're getting close.
What does it look like to me? I think it's going to be somewhat status quo
Hmm.
going forward. Again, I think there's going to be more strategic partnerships, if you will, in our
Hmm.
space to make it more seamless and easier for the law firms to obtain, these plaintiffs. I think there's going to be even better reporting back to the law firms, more data. Listen, that is the only thing that really doesn't lie, right? That
Yep.
is data,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
So I think that I think again, I think the better firms will rise to the top. I think over the next 6 to 9 months, I think there's going to be a lot of money coming back to the law firms from a lot of
From
these
from
courts
from your
being.
from your lips to God's ears, buddy. It
Yeah,
needs
no,
to happen.
I see it. I see it. I
Yeah.
see a lot of things resolving and a lot of funds coming back to the firms and the plaintiffs within the next, like I said, resolve and add another 9 to 12 months. So maybe, 12 to 18 months from today. And people will find new torts and new investments in our space to go back into again. Hopefully they learned their lesson and
Yep.
the past doesn't repeat itself. And again, they stay with, firms that, trustworthy firms that they did, again, going back to the beginning of our podcast, just doing your due diligence and, asking questions and meeting new people and talking to the leaders of the industry, because you know what? We're all willing to talk to people and educate them and help,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
And make introductions, because if you keep making good introductions after good introductions after good, the space becomes better and stronger, right?
I completely agree with you. The more you network and the broader your reach is, the more folks that you work with that you like and trust, the better this entire space is going to be.
Yeah, 100.
So
And it's a great space, man. It
it
really is a
really is.
great,
It really
great
is
space
because we're
with good
doing
people.
good, solid work for
Yeah.
for people.
Yep.
So cool. Just a couple of questions on leadership and culture, and then and just some overall philosophy, and then I'll cut you loose for the rest of
Sure.
today.
You got it.
What for you? How do you foster a culture that values both growth and integrity in this space?
So, listen, I'm fortunate, right? The company that I happen to work for, I love working for them. I love
Yep.
almost everybody there, right? We're a
Yep.
very large company, but we're like a family, right? From the top all the way down. And having that type of culture and working with people that you care about and care about their families and
Yep.
friends in the company giving birth, it is a wonderful culture, and I'm very, very fortunate to work there. Just I think relationships, right? Relationships are the foundation
Hmm.
of any positive culture, if you will. And just being around good people that you can speak to and that you trust, right? That building the trust and that foundation is really, I believe, what enables me to have the relationships that I have out there,
Yep,
right?
I agree with you, man. It's again a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. People remember the way that you treat them. And
Yeah.
if you treat them well, they're going to remember that, and they're going to go to bat for you and work alongside you. I love that.
Like I
So
said, reputation's everything, right?
absolutely, absolutely. So we will end with this. What's one piece of advice you'd give to firms or companies that are trying to modernize their marketing and intake operation today?
Um, Again, there are people in the industry, like you mentioned Scott earlier, that have ran some of the largest um, facilities, in the country, that are available to talk to, right? I would interview, not, don't just pick one, ask around, get the top two, three, four names, right? To handle your intake. Um, Interview them, spend time with them, talk to them, go see their facility, right?
Talk to people that they've worked with.
Yeah,
Ask
talk
for, yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
ask for a
talk
reference.
exactly, right? Exactly, ask references. Um, Obviously, if you're doing it in-house, I mean, there's very, very good technology out there right now that will help you if you're doing it in-house. And I would find someone to obviously head up your intake that has experience doing it. I mean, listen, intake is the most important part of this whole picture because, first of all, it is the first reflection of the firm, right? When
Yep.
someone first calls. The intake has to be thorough. They have to know how to speak. They have to know the questions to ask to make sure that they even have a real case at the front end, right? Um, Again, reporting back to the firm staying on top of it, just because of, again, the front end is where it all happens, right? You
Yep.
either have a good compensable case going through or you don't, right? You either stop it at the front gate or you let the crap go through. Crap in,
Exactly.
crap out,
Trash
right?
in, trash out, right?
Right, exactly. So, that is, to me, that is your safety net, right? Your intake is probably the most important. And that will also give you all the data as far as if those marketing companies are doing a good job or a bad job, right?
Absolutely.
You
Yep.
know it right up front. And again, if they do have return policies, exchange policies, right? That's your window right there. Because if it goes past that 14-day or whatever that exchange policy is, guess what? That's on the law firm for not acting. And I've seen it too many times where if it was a 14-day, at day 13, the law firm will take 100 leads and give it back to the marketing firm. That's not fair either on the marketing firm,
I
right?
completely agree with you.
So, right. So, again, good partners together, work together, right? Transparency. Let's all sort of walk, the road hand in hand.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I love that, man. Well, Paul, as a farewell for today, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're very busy, and so for you to take time to spend an hour with me means the world to me, my friend. So,
thank you, Nick.
for everybody out there, again, if you want to reach Paul, you can get him at
631-335-8575 or P Liebman, Liebman at torticity.com.
Awesome.
All
And
right.
thank you for being on the Logic Exchange. Thank you out there, everybody who's listening. Please like and subscribe. If you need to get in touch with me, Nick Thompson, CRO at Email Agency, 615-293-4801, or simple Nick at emailagency.com. Paul, have a wonderful rest of your day,
You
and
too,
we'll
my
see you
friend.
very
Thank you
soon.
for
Thanks,
having
thanks,
me, and
buddy.
I will see you soon. All right. Take
Absolutely,
care,
buddy.
Nick.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Yep. See ya.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.